Hello and welcome to Central City Tower. This is John
and Charles.
We'll be taking you on a retrospective of Project Zero, Part 2, Section 1, affectionately known as Part 2.1.
Also known as Pre-Dawn Darkness.
So without further ado, let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Charlie, you want to set us up with a bit of an introduction?
Okay, so the basic story is that we wanted to introduce and showcase our two new characters here, Sierra and Kareem, the soul-weighted saboteurs, going on a standard infiltration and destruction mission, infiltrating the enemy harvester, and taking out the guards, having a lot of fun doing the action here.
Part of what we're doing here is trying to set up this urban legend of the Whistler and his shadow, as we know Sierra and Kareem, and how they're such a threat to the Lancer organization.
Right. And so, getting back into it, what we really wanted to do is set up the contrast with Chapter 1 as a whole, and make Chapter 2 much more action-heavy, much more action-based. Because that's kind of where the series is going to start to turn pretty soon.
We had a lot of heart in Part 1, but here we're getting into a bit more grit and some action.
Right, so you see, they take out the guards right away with the jacket trick, and the shadows moving right over them.
Right, speaking of shadows, we were thinking of how do you get these guys who should be professionals, who should be these dangerous saboteurs, yet they're in street clothes, right? How shouldn't they be in special gear, all black clothing, that sort of thing?
Right, but one of the abilities that they have as modding is that they can kind of change the environment and change themselves. So we thought, why not just cloak themselves in black, draw the light away from themselves, and turn themselves into these living shadows for the purpose of infiltration.
And I think shadow mode is one of those things where, you think about it and it's really drawing inspiration from the old classic cartoons. You think about Disney's, even back to Disney's Peter Pan.
Peter Pan.
See a shadow mode.
And, it's a classic technique, the characters in black, but you still see the whites of their eyes, and here we kind of turn that into a superpower for our characters.
Coming to here, we're talking about, one of the major takeaways here is the difference between dialogue and narration.
Right.
The original draft here had a lot of narration, sort of giving you the backstory of Sierra and Kareem. Here, with the dialogue, you're able to get into a bit more of their personality.
Right, a little back and forth between the characters, how they interact with each other. And, even, you get to play a lot more with the balloons as well. You see how they're sneaking around the corridor, and here even their speedful when you're sneaking around with them. The hold on kind of, dashes under the pipe when he lowers his voice.
And, also with that, you get to add in this intensity, right, with the intercom going. You get the sense, more than narration could ever do, that there's a danger here, that there's everyone is on edge. And then here, these two panels, which otherwise have been fairly boring, all of a sudden come alive with the intercom going, Whistler's on board, drives you right into this running sequence as they get ready to take down the main reactor.
Right, and so here they burst in, the white is a nice contrast from the dark color we've been seeing a lot of. And then pretty soon we're just going to get right back into the fighting with Kareem. He turns around, he fills the door, and then you have this whole action sequence. He's taking out the guards one by one. He takes away he blocks the bullets, takes away their weapons, and pinpoints each one.
Yeah, the idea here is to show you what can a professional or like an experienced modder really do. You saw Owen bumbling around before. Here you see these guys with a bit more purpose.
Right, and in contrast to Kareem's really kind of precision, one by one taking them out, here we have Zero just going in raw power, crushes the generator, and they're good to go.
When we get to this section here, you're showcasing these guys as they escape from the Harvester, and part of grounding the series in reality, we wanted to have some basis for their modding abilities. Everyone looks at martial arts, kung fu, that sort of thing. Here we chose the basis as parkour. So a lot of the references here in the artwork and the posing you see from, watching David Bell, some of the other, high-profile parkour masters.
Getting back to animation tricks, through modding, that we thought not only can they change their environment, but they can even interact with their medium. And you see here that Zero's actually vaulting over the edge of the panel. We were thinking that Project Zero could easily be a cartoon or an animated series, as they would also play with their medium, just like, Looney Tunes or classic Disney shorts and stuff like that were very aware of the fact that they were animated characters, and would use that to varying purposes.
Giving a sense of size and scope here again with the references. And finally we conclude with this Baroom here. The Harvester explodes and mission complete.
Right. And that integrated sound effect of the thing's top-notch work.
Again, cool guys don't look at explosions. And good job, let's go.
Masks come off, and mission accomplished.
Alright, this has been a retrospective look at Project Zero Part 2.1. Thanks a lot for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. It's been a whole lot of fun for us to put together. Coming at you next week will be a retrospective on Part 2.2. Get into the boardroom, figure out what's going on with the Lancers, and introduce some new characters. And then after that, we'll transition to 2.3 and get you a page-by-page look at what went into development and how the pages came together, and why we're so excited about it.
Alright, and don't forget to check out our limited promotion going on right now. Tag us in a public post on Facebook or shout us out on Twitter, and we will get you a free digital copy of Project Zero Chapter 1 to get you all caught up for Chapter 2 graphically. It's been a pleasure having you.
As always, more to come.